She said, "If you get a DNA test, we are done," and my entire world just shattered. I am still shaking as I type this at 3 in the morning. My girlfriend Jessica just said the most devastating thing to me, and I think my whole world just collapsed. Those were her exact words when I brought up getting a paternity test for our 6-month-old daughter, Emma. The way she said it, with this cold look while bouncing Emma on her hip, made my stomach drop to the floor. I need to back up because this sounds insane, but please hear me out. I am Ethan, a 27-year-old registered nurse here in Ohio. And when Jessica and I started dating nearly 4 years ago, I was already overweight. During that first year together, I gained another 50 pounds through emotional eating, depression, and constant takeout. I was pushing 280 pounds at my heaviest, and with diabetes running in my family, I was basically a walking time bomb. Here's what I remember about Jessica during that first year. She would make these comments that I thought were supportive. "I love you exactly as you are, baby. Real men have curves too. Don't let anyone make you feel bad about your body, Ethan. I think you are absolutely perfect the way you are." Looking back now, maybe those should have been red flags. After that first year, I hit rock bottom when I couldn't fit into my scrubs and had to special order bigger uniforms. The embarrassment was crushing. So I committed to change. I started meal prepping, counting calories, hitting the gym at 5 in the morning before work. Lost 50 pounds in 10 months through determination and discipline. I felt incredible, stronger, more energetic, happier, and more confident than I had ever been. That is when Jessica's attitude shifted during year 2. She began making comments that felt like pinpricks. "Don't you think you are getting obsessed with this fitness thing?" When I would come home from the gym energized, she'd roll her eyes. "There you go, talking about the gym again." When I had declined takeout, she would say, "You are becoming someone I don't recognize." "Ethan, I miss the old you." I tried explaining that I felt amazing and wanted to be healthy, especially since we were building a future together. But Jessica seemed genuinely bothered by my transformation. The real problem started when Jessica got pregnant in year 3. During her pregnancy, I lost nearly another 50 pounds. I was down to 180, feeling like I could conquer the world. My energy was through the roof. My confidence solid. That is when Jessica went from subtle disapproval to outright hostility. She started accusing me of cheating. "I know what is really going on, Ethan. You think losing weight makes you God's gift to women now?" When my female co-workers would compliment my progress, Jessica would get bitter. "I bet all those nurses just love the new you, don't they? Must be nice getting attention from other women while your pregnant girlfriend sits at home." I kept trying to reassure her that my weight loss was about health and being a good father, not attracting other women. But she seemed convinced my transformation was a personal betrayal. After Emma was born 6 months ago, everything escalated to psychological warfare. About 4 months ago, I suggested couples therapy because I was desperate to understand what was happening. We went to see Dr. Carter, a therapist in our area, for several sessions over 6 weeks. He addressed Jessica's insecurity issues and helped us communicate better. He pointed out that Jessica's accusations weren't based on evidence and suggested my weight loss might have triggered abandonment fears. But after our 5th session, Jessica quit. "This is pointless," she said coldly. "He is just taking your side and making me look like the crazy, jealous girlfriend. I am not going back." I tried explaining that Dr. Carter hadn't taken sides, but Jessica was adamant that therapy was biased against her. That is when the suspicious behavior started 3 months ago. Jessica began disappearing for hours while claiming she was running errands. She would announce casually, "I am just going to grab groceries, be back in an hour," then be unreachable for 4, sometimes 5 hours. When I would ask what took so long, she would get defensive and give vague explanations that never added up. Traffic was terrible. I ran into my friend Sarah and we talked for hours. The grocery store was packed, but she had returned with maybe 1 small bag of groceries and no other purchases. Her sister Melissa started making worried comments around this time. "Jessica seems really stressed lately. Has she talked to you about what is bothering her? Or Emma's such a good baby. But Jessica looks exhausted. Is everything okay between you two?" I thought Melissa was just expressing normal postpartum concern. I had no idea she was seeing red flags I was missing. But here is what made my blood run cold. When I would question Jessica about these absences, she would get this defensive, almost cold expression. Not guilt or shame you would expect from someone caught in an innocent mistake, but this distant look, like she was calculating her next response. It felt like she was always one step ahead of my questions. I started tracking details like a detective. Jessica would leave at 2 claiming she needed milk, then return at 7 with just milk and elaborate stories. Her phone would be on silent during absences, completely out of character. She would come home smelling like unfamiliar perfume, or wearing lipstick she hadn't put on that morning. Once, I found a receipt from an expensive restaurant across town, the kind of upscale spot for romantic dates. When I asked about it, she got defensive and said she would met her friend Sarah there for lunch to vent about our relationship problems. But something felt off about her explanation, the way she wouldn't meet my eyes. I began thinking she was projecting. Maybe she was the one having an affair, and all these months of cheating accusations were her way of deflecting guilt and suspicion onto me. The mysterious disappearances, the calculated responses when questioned, the complete refusal to explain her whereabouts, the constant accusations despite my total faithfulness. It all seemed to point to one terrifying conclusion. So yesterday, after yet another mysterious 4-hour quick grocery run where she returned with nothing but a bag of chips and that defensive attitude, I finally said what I had been thinking for weeks. Jessica, I think we need to get a paternity test for Emma. The words hung in the air for what felt like an eternity. She went completely still, Emma still in her arms, and just stared at me with this unreadable expression. I expected denial, tears, hurt feelings, outrage, anything but what actually came out of her mouth. She looked me dead in the eye with ice-cold certainty and delivered that ultimatum. If you get a DNA test, we are done. No, how could you think that? No, I cannot believe you would doubt me after everything we have been through. No, that is insulting and hurtful. Just a straight, emotionless threat to end our entire relationship and family if I pursued the truth. I felt the floor drop out from under me. Why would you say that? If Emma's mine, what is the problem with proving it? Because, she said with that same cold stare, the fact that you even want one tells me everything I need to know about what you really think of me and our relationship. Jessica, you have been disappearing for hours with no explanation, getting defensive when I ask questions, and accusing me of cheating for months. What am I supposed to think? That is when she got this expression I had never seen before on her face. Pure contempt mixed with something else. Triumph. Think whatever you want, Ethan. But if you file for that test, don't expect me to be here when you get your precious results. I am sitting here now at 3 in the morning, Emma's baby monitor glowing beside me, and I keep replaying that conversation over and over. If Emma is mine, which I believe in my heart she is, why wouldn't Jessica want to prove it and put this to rest? Why would she rather destroy our family than take a simple test? And why did she look almost pleased when she delivered that ultimatum? I contacted a family law attorney first thing this morning. Based on Jessica's increasingly suspicious behavior and her threatening ultimatum, I am filing for a court-ordered paternity test. I need to know the truth. And frankly, her reaction has convinced me that she is hiding something significant. Jessica packed her bags this afternoon and moved in with her sister Melissa, taking Emma with her. She will not return my calls, will not respond to texts asking about Emma's feeding schedule or doctor appointments. It is like she had this escape plan ready and was just waiting for the right moment to execute it. Am I completely insane for doing this? Part of me keeps wondering if I am overreacting, if the stress of new parenthood combined with her postpartum emotions are just clouding both our judgments. But that calculated look when I questioned her whereabouts haunts me, and that ultimatum. Why would someone with nothing to hide react so extremely to a simple request for truth? Update 1 6 weeks later. I have an update. Thank you for all your support on my original post. Your comments helped me realize I wasn't losing my mind. The court date was scheduled for Wednesday, but something changed everything. Jessica called me on Friday, 5 days before our court appearance. Ethan, she said, crying, I need to tell you something before court. I have been thinking non-stop, and I realized that when the DNA test comes back showing Emma is yours, you are going to know something else was going on. You are going to put the pieces together anyway, so I would rather tell you myself. I was confused but relieved. Then why are you so afraid of the paternity test? Long pause. Then she said something that shattered my brain. I never actually cheated on you, she continued. But I did stage things to make you think I might be. That restaurant receipt you found. I went there with my friend Sarah, and we specifically chose that romantic place on purpose. I told her how confident you had gotten, how I felt like you didn't need me anymore. And she suggested making you feel uncertain. We ordered wine and an expensive meal, and I made sure to leave the receipt where you would find it. The disappearances, the new perfume, even some of the things I said. It was all calculated to make you worry about losing me. What? I asked her to repeat that because surely I had misunderstood. I was deliberately pretending to act shady and suspicious to make you feel what I felt when you started losing weight and getting confident and getting all this attention from people. When you lost weight and got confident, started getting compliments from coworkers and patients. When people would tell you how amazing you looked, I felt like you didn't need me anymore. I felt completely invisible. All those female nurses praising your transformation, patients telling you how good you looked, people saying you were glowing up. I felt like I was disappearing from your life. So I wanted you to feel that same insecurity and jealousy that was eating me up inside every single day. She had deliberately made me think she might be having an affair. The mysterious disappearances, the calculated responses when I questioned her. It was all an elaborate psychological game designed to torture me emotionally. So you deliberately tortured me for months. On purpose, I managed to ask. I didn't think you would actually demand a paternity test, she said, sobbing. I thought you would just get jealous and insecure and maybe pay more attention to me again. I thought you would need me again like you used to when you weren't so confident and independent, when I was overweight and depressed and psychologically dependent on her validation. I never meant for it to go this far. The ultimatum just came out when you mentioned the DNA test. I panicked because I knew if we did it and Emma turned out to be yours, you would realize I had been manipulating you this whole time, and you would leave me anyway. This woman had systematically destroyed my mental health, made me question my own sanity, and put me through months of psychological agony because she was jealous of my self-improvement journey. Jessica, do you understand what you just told me? Do you realize what you put me through? I know I messed up badly, but Ethan, we can work through this together. We can go back to Dr. Carter. I can make it up to you. I was just so scared of losing you when you got so different. Different, healthier, happier. Apparently these were threats to our relationship. The paternity test was still happening. I didn't trust a single word she said anymore. I felt like I was mourning two different relationships now. The one I thought I had and the one I will never have. She had been texting constantly since our conversation, alternating between apologies and saying I forced her hand by changing too much. The old Ethan would have forgiven me by now, she texted. The old Ethan understood that relationships require compromise. The old Ethan, the insecure, overweight, emotionally dependent version she could control. I am not responding anymore. My lawyer advised me to document everything but avoid direct engagement. Update 10 weeks after everything started. The paternity test results came back. Emma is 100% mine. Relief, but also confirmation that Jessica's psychological games were purely about control. Jessica showed up unannounced with Emma and the test results, acting like this scientific proof erased months of emotional abuse. See, I told you she was yours. Now can we rebuild our family and put this nightmare behind us? You admitted to months of systematic psychological manipulation because you were jealous of my health improvements. You staged fake evidence to make me think you were cheating. Why would I want to rebuild anything with you? That is when the mask came off completely. You changed when you lost weight, she said, pacing my living room. You became this confident person who didn't need me anymore, who got validation from other people. I was trying to bring back the old Ethan, the one who appreciated me and understood how good he had it. The old Ethan, the unhealthy, insecure version she could control. So your solution was to systematically destroy my mental health through psychological warfare. I was trying to remind you how much you loved me when you weren't so confident and independent. When I told her to leave, she cycled through manipulation tactics. First came threats. She would take Emma away permanently. She would tell everyone I was an abusive, controlling partner. She would make sure I never got joint custody when threats didn't work. She tried seduction and nostalgia. She talked about how incredible our relationship used to be, how we could recreate those early days when I needed her so much. Finally came emotional blackmail. "If you don't take me back, Emma will grow up in a broken home," she said with calculated certainty. Is that really what you want for her? That is when I realized something crucial about Jessica's psychology. She doesn't want reconciliation because she loves me or wants to create a healthy family. She wants reconciliation because she absolutely cannot stand that I have grown beyond needing her validation. My transformation threatens her sense of control, and she will use our daughter as leverage. Emma will grow up seeing her father respect himself and establish healthy boundaries, I told her firmly. Maybe watching me refuse to accept psychological manipulation will teach her to never tolerate it from anyone else. Jessica's face went through several expressions: shock, rage, desperation, and finally this cold, dead stare that made my skin crawl. "This isn't over, Ethan," she said, heading for my door. "Emma is my daughter too, and I am not going to let you poison her against me. I have spoken to my lawyer about documenting everything. Her admission of deliberate manipulation, her threats regarding custody, her attempts to use Emma as emotional leverage. We are moving forward with formal custody arrangements. I am working through these feelings in therapy now. I am seeing a different therapist that Dr. Carter recommended to avoid conflicts of interest, and it is helping me process this psychological trauma. Part of me still grieves for the relationship I thought we had, the woman I thought I loved. But I cannot unsee what she revealed about her true character and capacity for calculated cruelty. She didn't just fake suspicious behavior to get attention. She orchestrated months of psychological warfare because she preferred me depressed, insecure, and emotionally dependent on her validation. That is not love. That is manipulation and control disguised as caring. Emma stays with me 4 days a week now during temporary arrangements. Being her father is the best part of every day. I am also getting back into my fitness routine consistently, which feels like reclaiming a part of myself that Jessica tried to take away through shame and psychological manipulation. Update 316 weeks after this nightmare began. Jessica's sister Melissa asked to meet urgently. She explained she had been quietly gathering evidence during custody proceedings because she was worried about Emma's well-being. What she revealed, I am still processing. She showed me screenshots from Jessica's group chat that she had accessed from Jessica's laptop while staying at her house. The messages made me sick and explained so much. Jessica had been calling my weight loss her worst nightmare, getting detailed coaching from friends on how to make me insecure again. The messages showed a systematic plan: make him think he is not the only option, act distant and mysterious. Confident men hate feeling insecure about their relationships. This manipulation strategy had been developed and refined over more than a year, with her friends actively encouraging the psychological games. "There is more," Melissa said, looking disturbed. "Jessica told me she hoped the stress would make you gain weight back. She researched online about how anxiety and depression affect weight gain. She wanted you miserable enough to revert to your old coping mechanisms and become her Ethan again. She was deliberately trying to destroy my physical and mental health to serve her need for psychological dominance." Jessica had also been building a character assassination case, telling our families I was a narcissistic fitness obsessive who neglected Emma for the gym. She was documenting my workout schedule as evidence of abandoning family responsibilities, preparing to claim I was an unfit father. While I was questioning my sanity, Jessica was orchestrating a comprehensive attack on my character. Melissa showed me more messages where Jessica complained I was too confident now and didn't need her validation like I used to. "I miss when he was grateful to have me and understood how lucky he was," she had written. "Now he acts like he has options." I finally understood the full scope of her psychology. Jessica's early comments about loving me as I was weren't acceptance or body positivity. They were strategic statements designed to keep me insecure, overweight, and psychologically dependent on her approval. "Why are you telling me all this?" I asked Melissa. "Because Emma deserves better than growing up around this level of calculated toxicity," she said firmly. "And because what Jessica did to you was systematic psychological abuse, even if she is convinced herself it was justified. You needed to understand what you are really dealing with in custody proceedings." Jessica had been planning to claim I was mentally unstable for demanding a paternity test, arguing that my fitness obsession demonstrated neglect of family responsibilities and that my paranoid behavior proved I was unfit to parent. I immediately forwarded all of Melissa's evidence to my attorney. Current status, after all this chaos, after months of court proceedings, psychological evaluations, and meetings with a court-appointed guardian for Emma, I now have primary custody 5 days a week. Jessica gets supervised visits twice weekly, while in court-mandated therapy specializing in manipulative behaviors. Her therapist confirmed she is recognizing destructive patterns, but genuine change will require years of work. The custody order is reviewed every 6 months as Jessica continues treatment. 1 year later, Emma is absolutely thriving under my care. I am currently training for my first half marathon this coming spring, surrounded by coworkers, friends, and family members who celebrate personal growth instead of resenting it. Every mile I run feels like reclaiming another piece of myself that Jessica tried to destroy through her psychological manipulation. For anyone told self-improvement is selfish. People who truly love and support you will be your biggest cheerleaders, not saboteurs. The right person will be proud of your progress, not threatened. If someone tries convincing you their manipulation was justified by your growth, that is not love, that is ownership. Girlfriend systematically faked cheating behavior for over a year to manipulate me back into being the depressed, overweight person she could control. When I demanded a paternity test, she confessed to calculated psychological abuse. I chose my daughter's well-being over a toxic relationship.